The story you're about to hear does not begin within the pristine confines of a sterile laboratory or the hushed stillness of a quiet archive. Instead, it unfolds amidst the vibrant noise and ceaseless bustle of a New York street sale. There, nestled among forgotten relics and fragments of countless other lives, an acquaintance of mine made a seemingly innocuous purchase, merely an amusing souvenir. He acquired an old fire helmet, a poignant relic, bearing silent witness to a bygone era. Yet, its profound significance lay concealed, not in its worn exterior, but deep within its core. Someone long ago had improvised a form of padding to improve its fit, tucking an old, severely battered notebook inside. The moment this humble notebook found its way into my possession, an immediate realization dawned. I held something truly extraordinary. Its once sturdy covers had succumbed to the relentless march of time, becoming thin and brittle, their edges visibly scarred by fire. A heavy, thick aroma of mold and forgotten time emanated from it, evoking the musty depths of attics and the secrets of long-locked chests. Its yellowed, fragile pages bore countless lines, meticulously inscribed in faded, ancient ink. Here and there, the ink had receded so completely that the letters had dissolved into faint specters on the paper, demanding intense scrutiny to discern their ghostly forms. Elsewhere, the text suffered irretrievable damage from water, transforming vast sections into blurry, indiscernible ink stains, forever entombing the words and potentially entire profound ideas beneath their watery shroud. Indeed, fire had once ravaged its pages, leaving a dark, scorched border along their margins. Thus commenced a long and arduous journey of translation and restoration. It was a true resurrection of thought, a delicate endeavor to reassemble the fragmented mosaic of a truly brilliant mind. Each surviving word was considered priceless, literally worth its weight in gold, and every successfully restored phrase represented a small, hard-won victory. Yet, as I immersed myself deeper and deeper into the text, an undeniable clarity emerged. This manuscript was unequivocally more than just the random jottings of an anonymous engineer. The distinctive intellectual style, the sheer scale, and the breathtaking audacity of the ideas expressed all pointed with increasing certainty to one singular individual. My suspicions were soon emphatically confirmed. This battered notebook was none other than a lost diary, the authentic, handwritten manuscript of the legendary inventor, Nikola Tesla, a genius born far ahead of his time And the very first line I managed to decipher struck me with the force of a thunderclap. Was neither a complex formula nor an intricate diagram. Instead, it was a direct, respectfully worded, yet unequivocally firm address to another titan of science. Tesla had written, "You are mistaken, Mr. Einstein. The ether exists." This solitary sentence, flung across the chasm of decades, heralded the inception of an intellectual duel between two unparalleled scientific titans, while the scientific community progressively gravitated towards Einstein's revolutionary concepts, and the venerable concept of the ether was summarily discarded as an obsolete relic. Tesla, from the secluded depths of his laboratory, issued a resounding counter-declaration. "You have all taken a wrong turn." But then, how could one possibly reconcile this with the perplexing failure of the renowned Michelson-Morley experiment? After all, that landmark experiment appeared to have unequivocally demonstrated the absence of any ether wind. Tesla, however, possessed a disarmingly simple, yet profoundly brilliant retort. In his meticulous notes, he invites us to consider a straightforward analogy. Picture yourself in a boat, caught irrevocably within a vast, incredibly powerful whirlpool. You sit in this vessel, attempting to use instruments to measure the water's movement relative to your position. What will be the outcome? Precisely zero. You would detect no movement whatsoever because your boat is traveling at precisely the same speed and tracing the identical path as the water within the whirlpool. You are, in essence, an inseparable part of the system itself. Now, Tesla writes, mentally substitute the boat with our Earth in the swirling whirlpool with the gigantic etheric vortex through which our planet ceaselessly rushes as it orbits the sun. From his perspective, we are incapable of detecting an ether wind for that very same logical reason. We are not merely traversing a static ether. Rather, we are perpetually rushing along with it. The answer, as so often occurs in the narratives of true genius, presented itself from the most improbable of sources, a seemingly simple, utterly mundane observation. In his diary, he recounts observing a sailor idly smoking his pipe. The sailor, with surprising dexterity, leased the smoke not as an amorphous cloud, but as distinct, dense, perfectly formed rings. These ephemeral rings journeyed a considerable distance, steadfastly retaining their intricate shape. This single observation ignited an undeniable spark within his mind. He rushed to his laboratory to transfer this principle to water. He filled a metal can with ink, submerged it, and struck the membrane. The effect was nothing short of astonishing. A dense, perfectly formed ring of ink shot forth, rotating gracefully, and swiftly propelled itself through the water. It neither blurred nor dissipated. Like an unseen projectile, it traversed the entire length of the tank, impeccably preserving its pristine shape. This is energy transfer, Tesla jotted in his diary. In that singular moment, he experienced a profound epiphany. Everything suddenly clicked into place. Smoke rings in the air. Ink rings in water. This unequivocally meant that the identical principle must be applicable within the ether. He had, at last, discovered precisely what he had been seeking, the fundamental key to controlling the boundless, untapped energy of the universe. Driven by this profound research, he meticulously constructed his generator. It was a victory, he writes. In that triumphant moment, he felt an exhilarating sense that absolutely nothing was beyond his reach. Overwhelmed by the euphoria of his monumental discovery, he made grand, sweeping promises to the world, to eager investors, and indeed to all of humanity. He was convinced he stood on the precipice of a brand new era, but alas, his triumph proved tragically premature. In his notes, he later admitted with profound bitterness, "I did not fully investigate this phenomenon, and for that, I paid a terrible price." His very first full-scale experiments starkly revealed that the reality was far from simple. The etheric vortices behaved with frustrating unpredictability. They suffered significant energy loss upon contact with metal and were mysteriously absorbed by the deep layers of the earth. His ambitious promises dissolved into resounding failure. Funding abruptly ceased, but the most devastating blow, as Tesla himself poignantly recorded, was not the financial ruin. They stopped believing me. His initial euphoria gave way to the deepest chasm of depression and despair. Rejected and openly ridiculed, yet fundamentally unbroken. He knew with absolute certainty that he had to vindicate his theories at any cost. And then, at this nadir, at this darkest point in his extraordinary life, he resolved to take a step that he himself described as utterly insane. "The secret of my invention will die with me," he wrote, his words resonating with the finality of a grim verdict. If the earth itself was inexplicably absorbing his precious vortices, then he logically required a reflector, an object that could send them rebounding back. And such a reflector existed, massive, natural, and perpetually overhead: the moon. However, his initial experimental endeavors led him to an even grander discovery. He could establish a resonance system between the Earth and the moon, but the calculations were staggering. Generating such a resonance could unleash energy sufficient to utterly obliterate a large city. "It was then," he chillingly writes, "that I first understood that this system would be dangerous for humanity. Despite the horror, he resolved to proceed, aiming for the uninhabited expanses of Siberia. At the appointed hour, he entrusted the device to a clockwork mechanism and waited. The minutes dragged and felt like years. Finally, the clock hands aligned. Nothing. A minute crawled by, then 5. Still nothing. And then, suddenly, the very daylight momentarily dimmed. A strange, eerie sensation coursed through his body, as if thousands of incandescent needles were thrust into his flesh. A metallic tang filled his mouth, and his head throbbed with a persistent ringing. He presumed failure. It was only later, reading reports of the catastrophic event in Siberia, that a chilling realization gripped him. He had indeed succeeded. But what he had unleashed was no mere energy source. It was a devastating weapon, capable of triggering cataclysms on a planetary scale. This was the Tunguska phenomenon. The knowledge of the immense destruction plunged him into an abyss of chilling horror. He hadn't merely validated a scientific theory, he had, in effect, opened Pandora's box. Tesla realized that bestowing humanity with an inexhaustible energy source in its current volatile state was like entrusting a loaded firearm to a naive child. The outcome, he knew, would be inevitable and utterly catastrophic. Following this harrowing experiment, he reached a resolute decision. The profound secret of his invention would perish with him. This was the deliberate, agonizing choice of a man who had stared into the terrifying abyss of ultimate power and determined that others should not follow. And then, history unveiled a peculiar twist of fate. It was precisely during this period that Albert Einstein's star ascended. His theories, which rejected the ether, rapidly enthralled the world. What Tesla had once perceived as a tragic misstep, he now paradoxically viewed as a form of salvation. In one of the most extraordinary passages of his diary, Tesla pens, "I am even grateful to Einstein for diverting humanity from the perilous path I had embarked upon." What an incredible twist. The very individual he regarded as his intellectual adversary had become humanity's unwitting savior, saving them, ironically, from Tesla himself. One might have expected the manuscript to conclude at this juncture. The central secret had been laid bare, and the legacy carefully sequestered. Yet, the diary contained another, equally astonishing revelation. Even as Tesla had resigned himself to abandoning the energy project, his very generator unexpectedly presented him with an entirely new enigma. During his continued work, Tesla started observing a peculiar, subtle atmospheric phenomenon. Each time he activated his generator, he perceived a faint breeze flowing towards the device. To render these unseen currents visible, he used smoke. The sight that unfolded was nothing short of astonishing. From any position, the smoke was consistently drawn towards the generator, but upon nearing the device, instead of dispersing, it ascended directly above it in a dense, unwavering column, as if being channeled upwards by an unseen chimney. Tesla arrived at a conclusion that to any other scientist would have sounded like utter lunacy. His generator was diminishing the force of gravity within the spatial region directly above it. To verify this, he constructed a large, extraordinarily precise scale crafted entirely from wood. He positioned one arm of the balance beam directly over the generator. What transpired next was akin to a conjurer's trick. The side of the scale positioned above the apparatus abruptly shot upwards, defying all known principles. He rigorously repeated the experiment. There was absolutely no room for skepticism. Nikola Tesla had, beyond any doubt, discovered a method to locally manipulate the force of gravity. These groundbreaking experiments ignited within his mind an entirely new concept, the notion of constructing a flying machine. Yet this vision was far removed from conventional airplanes or dirigibles. Its operational principle was utterly unique. His reasoning unfolded thus. If his generator could create a region of weakened gravity, then a machine outfitted with such a device could precisely direct this low-pressure zone towards its intended trajectory. The omnipresent ether, pressing from all other sides, would effortlessly propel the machine into this vacuum. The most breathtaking implication, an occupant within such a machine would experience absolutely no sensation of acceleration. In Tesla's revolutionary concept, there are no thrusters pushing against the pilot. Instead, the ether itself, the very fabric of space, would simultaneously and uniformly propel the machine and every single atom within it. The resulting movement would be absolute and utterly inertialess. Now, armed with this secret, consider the modern phenomenon of unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. Eyewitness accounts describe craft capable of instantaneous acceleration and executing abrupt right-angle turns. According to classical mechanics, any biological entity inside would be instantly pulverized by the immense G-forces. Yet, this crushing effect is conspicuously absent. And here, Tesla's diary offers the sole logical and terrifyingly straightforward explanation. What if these objects are not violating the laws of mechanics? What if, instead, they are moving precisely as Tesla envisioned? By generating a localized zone of reduced ether pressure, allowing the ubiquitous force of the universe to smoothly and uniformly carry the craft along. This naturally prompts the question, Where are these fantastical flying machines? Why do we not observe them, traversing our skies today? Tesla's diary offers two poignant and thorough answers. Unfortunately, I was compelled to abandon the development, Tesla laments, primarily simply lacked the funds. Following the collapse of the wireless energy project, he found himself virtually bankrupt. Yet, the most pivotal reason transcended financial constraints. Most crucially, he records, a devastating war has erupted in Europe, and I absolutely refuse to allow my inventions to be weaponized for the purpose of killing. He vividly envisioned his silent, invisible craft falling into the hands of military powers. He knew it would become the ultimate weapon, and once again, he made the unyielding choice to refuse. But if we have the diary now, why can't we build it? The answer, as simple as it is heartbreaking, resides in the deteriorated state of the notebook itself. Regrettably, the section detailing the intricate construction of the generator suffered the most severe water damage. Relentless passage of time has transformed critical diagrams and complex formulas into indistinct, utterly illegible stains. For the precise recreation of a functional device, the defining details are irrevocably lost. Yet, even in its tragically compromised condition, his legacy remains utterly priceless. Tesla left humanity not only a chilling testament to his fears, but also a beacon of enduring hope. He foresaw a century passing before human reason could decisively overcome our inherent animalistic instincts. Perhaps in 100 years, he mused, my invention might then serve people for their ultimate good. That designated century has now elapsed. We are undeniably inhabiting the very future he envisioned. And as we gaze upon our world, fractured by conflicts and teetering on the precipice of crisis, we are compelled to confront a vital question. Are we, as a civilization, truly ready? Have we matured sufficiently to responsibly accept his extraordinary gift? Or will we, as he so profoundly feared, inevitably transmute it into the most devastating weapon conceivable? And who, indeed, could have ever conceived? Who could have possibly believed that the profound answers to the greatest enigmas of our modern age, the key to the star and to free energy, been patiently awaiting discovery all this time, not concealed within the impenetrable vaults of top-secret government facilities, nor buried deep within obscure scientific archives. Instead, they lay, utterly forgotten by all, in the unassuming form of an old-scented notebook, unceremoniously tucked away as padding inside a dilapidated fire helmet purchased for a mere pittance at a New York street sale.